So you're brave enough to click on the video. The title is Empty and Hopeless. Maybe today this isn't something you need though. Let's just be honest. Maybe you're in a really good season and you got some great opportunities and you're just hustling, going after it. There is nothing wrong with that. Don't ever feel bad about that. But maybe this is something you need to share with somebody else. Maybe you're that person that this was shared with and you're in a season where you feel empty and you feel hopeless. Maybe you saw this and you said, I could probably benefit from that, or what is this about? Because that's what I am feeling. Today, I want you to know it's not coming from a place of theory and theology. I actually asked the team, strip the room away. I want it as simple as it can be because I am talking to you from a place of experience. In my life, I've had really high highs and really low lows. And I want to give you some things today to really help you take a step towards Jesus so you can champion this season. I'm going to give you simple things, but I'm also going to challenge you today as well. I don't want to hold anything back or try to just like, oh, come on in. It's going to be great. And it's all going to be wonderful. I'm going to challenge you some in this, but maybe you need more than just a 25-minute video. Maybe you need to reach out to the National Suicide Hotline. Maybe you need to reach out to somebody to get some real help. Maybe you need to go see a counselor or a doctor. None of that stuff is wrong. None of that stuff is wrong or is bad. You need to do what Holy Spirit is leading you to do. And I hope today that this video can help you take a step in the right way where you don't live your life empty and hopeless, but you live your life with abundance of all that God has for you, living in the hope-filled joy and peace that Jesus alone offers you and I, not just me. But I want you to hear me. I want you to hear me. Today could be the first step in the right direction for you seeing light in your darkness. If you're ready and you're bold enough, let's jump in. I wrote this down in my notes. To move from where you're at right now, where you feel empty and hopeless. Again, just like this room, it's almost cold in here. It's echoey. It's empty. It feels like there's no hope for this, but we know there is. There's great opportunity in every space, including your life. But it's going to take open, honest self-assessment. We're going to go to 1 Kings chapter 19. 1 Kings chapter 19. I want to show you a story of Elijah, and I want to show you kind of how we relate. And I'm going to get very practical on the back end of this to give you some next steps. You know, one thing I've heard, and it's always stuck with me, when you're in a moment where you don't know what to do, what is the next right thing? And actually, I'm going to tell you how to kind of get to that. Even if you're like, I don't even know what that would be, we're going to get to that. 1 Kings chapter 19, starting in verse 1. Here's what it says. When Ahab got home, he told Jezebel everything Elijah had done, including the way he had killed all the prophets of Baal. All right, just to give you a little context, Elijah in chapter 18 has just called down fire, okay? An incredible moment in history, all right? So Elijah has called down fire, but watch how it continues. So Jezebel sent this message to Elijah. May the gods strike me and even kill me if by this time tomorrow I have not killed you just as you killed them. Elijah was afraid and fled for his life. He went to Beersheba, a town in Judah, and he left his servant there. Then he went on alone into the wilderness, traveling all day. He sat down on a solitary broom tree and prayed that he might die. I have had enough, Lord, he said. Take my life, for I'm no better than my ancestors who have already died. Then he lay down and slept under the broom tree. But as he was sleeping, an angel touched him and told him, get up and eat. He looked around, and there was beside his head some bread baked on hot stones and a jar of water. So he ate and drank and laid down again. Then the angel of the Lord came again and touched him and said, get up and eat some more, or the journey ahead will be too much for you. I love that verse. Get up and eat some more, for the journey ahead will be too much for you, or the journey ahead will be too much for you. So he got up and ate and drank, and the food gave him enough strength to travel 40 days and 40 nights to Mount Sinai, the mountain of God. Then he came to a cave where he spent the night. But the Lord said to him, what are you doing here, Elijah? Elijah replied, I have zealously served the Lord God Almighty, but the people of Israel have broken their covenant with you, torn down your altars, and killed every one of your prophets. I'm the only one left, And now they're trying to kill me too. Now the story actually continues from there, but what we can see is Elijah had a really high, and then he goes into a really low. And this is because of Jezebel threatening him. And it's kind of a picture to us that what other people do oftentimes really affects us and impacts us. And Elijah, as amazing as a prophet and a man of God that he is in an empty and hopeless situation. In his heart, he feels like there is no more going on. Now, why would I labor on that? Because I want us to get all of us have seasons where we feel empty and where we feel hopeless. The difference is, what will we do when we walk into those seasons? Now, I want us to give us 3 quick things before we get to practical. And number 1 is this. I want us to notice the indicators in our life when we feel empty and hopeless. We have to notice the indicators. And honestly, this is probably going to be preaching to the choir if you have watched this much through. All right. So you're already going to be like, yeah, I can see that. Rick Warren, someone that I just honor. I've never had the opportunity to meet him. That would be incredible. But Rick Warren gives 10 indicators out of these first 10 verses. And I'm sure you might find yourself in one of these. We'll have them there on the screen. The first one is this: fear creeps into your life. Fear creeps into your life. You know you are feeling empty and hopeless when fear begins to creep into your life. Here's some more. You find yourself running away from things. You feel empty and hopeless when you find yourself running away from things. You back out of relationships. Remember, it says he left his servant there. You feel empty and hopeless, emptiness and hopelessness when you begin to back out of relationships. You make foolish decisions impulsively. You push yourself past your physical limits. Your work seems pointless. You complain that you want to quit and give up. You feel isolated and attacked. You compare yourself to others and feel bad about yourself. You think death might bring relief. Because Elijah goes on to say, I don't even want to live anymore. Like, I'm just done. And you're like, Elijah, you are Elijah the prophet. You called down fire. God used you incredibly, but he doesn't want to live anymore. And he thinks death will bring relief. And I just want to say this, that will never, ever be the case. That would never be the case. And again, I said this on the onset, this isn't theory and theology for me. This is life experience. I've had the moment where I planned and began to take action to take my own life. So I take this extremely seriously because we think, well, if I take my own life, then it will actually bring relief. And that is a lie from Satan whispering in your ear, telling you, you're not worth it. You are not worth it to live anymore. And emptiness and hopelessness can fuel all of that. And that's why I want us to see these indicators. I'm going to read them quickly one more time. Fear creeps into your life. You find yourself running away from things. You back out of relationships. You make foolish decisions impulsively. You push yourself past your physical limits. Your work seems pointless. You complain that you want to quit and give up. You feel isolated and attacked. You compare yourself to others and feel bad about yourself. You think death might bring relief. These are all just from this story, but we know, I think overall and overarching in all of that is emptiness and hopelessness just makes you want to throw in the towel. I wrote it down like this. You feel like you don't have purpose anymore. You feel like you don't have purpose anymore. Let's move on from that. Here's the second thing I want you to get is you have to be honest. You need to be honest with yourself. You need to find someone you can be honest with. More importantly, you need to be honest with God. I love that Elijah wasn't like, I'm fine. I'm good. It's all, nah. No. You need to be honest with God first. You need to be honest with yourself, and you need to be honest with people you trust around you. I wrote this down. Let the words flow until you actually run out of what to say. And watch this, God will still be there. Let the words flow out of your heart to God until you run out of words to say. And watch this, he will still be there. I'll say it one more time. Let the words flow out of you. Don't hold anything back. Let God hear it. Watch this. And he'll still be there when the words run out. He will still be there with you. Elijah goes on this thing. Well, I've done this and this has happened and all this has happened to everybody else and it's not even worth me living anymore. And God wasn't like, you know what? I'll come back when you got a better attitude. No. What does he do? He's a loving father. He's a loving father. And he was there even when the words ran out. And I love this too. Even when Elijah did not see hope and did not see fulfillment, God sent heaven to restore him for his journey. And it's the same for us. If we see it for Elijah, it is the same for us. Even when we feel empty and when we feel hopeless and we don't feel like we have a purpose and we want to throw in the towel and it seems like nothing will bring us joy anymore, when we are gut honest with God and we will not to believe the lies of the devil, but we will be honest with God with what we are feeling, he sends heaven to strengthen and to restore you because you have a lot more of your journey on the way. Let's keep going. Here's the next thing I want to ask you. The third thing is this. Are you willing? Are you willing? Here's what I mean by that. When God sends the angel to Elijah, he says, get up and eat. Elijah had to get up and eat. Think about that. When he says get up and go, Elijah had to actually get up and go. And are you willing? Are you willing to take that next step of that next right thing that God's going to speak to your heart? Are you willing to do that? Here's the thing with God. He's a gentleman. He is never, ever, ever just going to take over you and make you like a little puppet and make you go do what you're supposed to do. No, he gives you free will. And here's what I want to ask you for the third time. Are you willing? Are you willing to get up and take that next step? Are you willing to do these practical things? And probably not every one of these will speak to you, but maybe one of them will. Are you willing to take a step in the right direction? Because you don't have to live in emptiness and in this cold heart state. You don't have to live in this moment where you feel like nothing will fix this. That is a lie from Satan. Are you willing to get up and eat? Let me give you some practical things. Here's the first one. Here's what I want to ask you. What's going in your tank? What is going in your tank? Here's why I asked that. The other day I'm at work and I have to jump on this one machine. We don't have any staff members at the church yet, not yet. Everything we do is volunteer. So I'm at work and I'm jumping on this machine. And when I jump on it, I don't know if you've ever done this and you've said this to yourself, self, I really wonder if there's enough fuel in this machine to get this job done. And I don't want to look stupid and it break down in front of everybody. So I jump off of it. I run and find a gas tank. Now this is a gas tank. What is supposed to be in there is gasoline, right? What's supposed to be in there is gasoline. But I took just a few extra seconds, took the top off, smelt it, and it wasn't gasoline. It was actually diesel. Now, I am not a mechanic. I can barely get my phone to connect to my truck, all right? But I do know this. If I put diesel in an engine that's supposed to run off gasoline, there's going to be some massive problems. And here's what I'm asking. Have you checked what is going in to your tank to fuel your life? Have you checked what is going into your tank to fuel your life? It might look like the right thing, but under the surface, it might be something that could absolutely mess up the engine of who you are called to be. I want to give you a few physical things, but I want to give you spiritual things first, because I just wrote this down. To run correctly, we need the right fuel. I said this, what you are taking in spiritually matters. What you are taking in spiritually, I'm going to say it like that. What you are taking in spiritually, it matters. My mom used to tell me as a kid, she really told her whole family, hope your spirit man is strong to handle the tough times. She wasn't yelling like this in the hallway. I don't know why I did it like that, but like when I was a kid, I was really, especially like high school and stuff, I was very into fitness. Obviously, I ain't into fitness now. I'm into fitness, whatever this pizza is in my mouth. Okay, that's about it now. But at the time, I was really big into fit. What? I don't even know where that came from. I was really big into fitness, and my mom would like do these like little like nonchalant, just kind of like passive aggressive, like I'm just going to sow this little bit of a seed. And she's 1,000% right. She's like, I hope your spirit man is as strong as your physical man. And it wasn't. It was not at all. But it's a really good thing to think about. Oftentimes we are worried about our physical things and we miss the spiritual side, that spiritual, our spirit that will last forever, of strengthening it in God so we can walk through every season. We have to fuel ourselves. Let me just say it as plain as I can. We have to fuel ourselves on the things of God. I'm talking about His Word. I'm talking about connection to Him. I'm talking about worship. I'm talking about serving. All of those things fuel our spirit man, where we have what it takes to walk through every season, even if it's in the valley of the shadow of death. because all of us have highs and all of us have lows. But I believe this, it is the strength of our spirit man through the Holy Spirit that will get us through those seasons. Let me give you a few verses. Oh, I wrote this down too. I want to say this. I wrote this down. What you are feeding your spirit makes a significant difference in your perspective. Hear that. What you are feeding your spirit makes a significant difference in your perspective. And perspective dictates your attitude, and attitudes has your feelings on a leash. Let me say that again. What you're feeding your spirit makes a significant difference in your perspective, and perspective dictates your attitude, and attitude has your feelings on a leash. What you're feeding your spirit, man, is how you'll see the world around you. That is your perspective. Your perspective dictates your attitude, and your attitude is pulling your feelings wherever they should go. We should never, ever, ever be dictated by our emotions and our feelings. We get in that trouble when we don't have a good attitude, and attitude is connected to perspective, and perspective is connected to your spirit, man. Does that make sense? All right, now let me give you Romans chapter 15, verse 13. I'm going to give you two sections of verses here. I pray that God, the source of hope, will fill you completely with joy and peace because you trust in Him. Watch that. That the source of hope, God, will fill you with joy and peace because you trust in Him. Then you will overflow with confident hope through the power of the Holy Spirit. See that as you trust in Him. Well, how do you trust in Him? Trust is faith, and you trust people that you spend time with. We did one a couple weeks ago. It's in the archives on YouTube TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, wherever you are on podcasts, from Amazon to Spotify to Audible to Apple, wherever, all right? Go find the ones we did on faith. We did two of them of like what difference does faith make or something. I forget what it was. We did it in the spiritual toolbox. Go listen to those again. We talk a lot about trusting God. How do we trust God? How do we gain trust in God? All of those kind of things. And you're probably going to need it if you're feeling in this season of emptiness and hopelessness. Let's keep going. Isaiah chapter 40 says this. Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and His understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Notice that there. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. Hey, don't ever beat yourself up. He said, listen, it happens to everybody. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. I could preach that whole thing for a little bit, but we have to find ways to connect with God and strengthen our spirit, man. Okay? Again, I'm giving you an overarching way. We talked a lot about this over the last 2 months. Please, please, please go in the archives and watch those as we talked about spiritual toolbox. I mean this. Everything we talked about over the last 9-10 weeks, whatever it was, really will help you in this season of emptiness and hopelessness. I promise you that, right? But we've got to find ways to connect to God through prayer, through communicating, through His Word, through worship, through trust, through communion, all that. Again, you have, what did I ask you in the beginning? You've got to notice the indicators. You've got to be honest. And you have to be willing to do this. You have to be willing to look at, what am I putting in the tank of my life? Now, the physical side, let me just hit on this for a second. I'm going to give you a 35,000 foot view of this. On the physical side, listen, you probably don't need to be listening to your favorite slow song. You probably don't need to be watching the most sad TV show. It's not probably a good time for you to be watching the first 48, or I don't know. It's not a good time to be watching 2020, right? I don't know. Like, you need to be putting things in your life that naturally bring joy. I went through one season of burnout. Now, I went through the season of suicidal ideations and began to put that into motion, and God just did a miracle in that. But there's other seasons I went through burnout, and I went to see a counselor, and she's just been tremendous. I mean, she's been a massive part of saving my life countless times, like legitimately. And I remember her asking me one day, she said, Trevor, how much are you in the sun? And I'm like, well, look at me, I'm pretty pale, like, hello. And she says, I think you just really need to get outside a little bit. And I'm like, you are nuts. I feel empty and hopeless, and you're telling me to go outside? Are you kidding me? And I'm telling you, it's exactly what I needed in that season. And I don't know what you need in this season. Maybe it's something as simple as that. Maybe it's something as heavy as calling the suicide hotline. I don't know. But you have to take that step. And you have to find ways to fill your heart, to fill your tank, to strengthen your spirit. Man, let me go on to the next thing. Here's what you need to ask yourself. Where am I adding value? Where am I adding value? Now you might say, I feel empty and I feel hopeless. The last thing that is on my mind is adding value to others. But I want to tell you, it's one of the greatest things that will bring joy and hope and fulfillment and abundance into your life. You were not created to do life alone. You were not created to only be focused on yourself. And that's not a shot. Please don't hear something I'm not saying. What I'm telling you is you were created to add value to others. And as we add value to others, we find that others add value to us. You might not even know it, but a whole group of people at a church are giving so all of this can happen so we can add value to you. Think about that. All of this has happened because a group of people in St. Augustine, Florida that meet at Catalinas Elementary School said, hey, we believe that somebody might watch a video or listen to a podcast that they feel empty and they feel hopeless, and we want to add value to them. All of this is adding value, hopefully, to you. And here's what I want to tell you. You are called to add value to other people as well. Proverbs 11:25 on this, I'm going to give you two versions. It says, whoever brings blessing will be enriched, and one who waters will himself be watered. And one who waters will himself be watered. In another version, it says this, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. When I'm not giving out, and when you're not giving out, when you're not adding value to others, you're missing a really big part of who you're called to be. And I think it really can, it's like this. We're called to be rivers of water, not a pond. A pond can be stagnant without things running through it. We're called to receive from heaven and let it flow to other people. But when we only are holding in everything we have, that water gets stagnant and it has a whole bunch of dangerous stuff in there. You wouldn't go jump in a ditch and swim in a ditch, but you absolutely would go jump in a river and swim. You're going to be slim if you jump in that ditch. You're going to get something that ain't going to be good, all right? But if you jump in a river that is constantly flowing, it is bringing the oxygen and nutrients. And I'm going to stop because I know nothing about marine biology. Those kind of things that you need. But when water is stagnant, that's when it gets dangerous. And if you are stagnant and not having things flow through you, what happens is you are flirting with something extremely dangerous that you were never meant to. Listen to me. Those who refresh others will be refreshed. I wrote down 4 quick things. Here's what I want you to see. How can you make someone else smile today? How can you create a memory for somebody else? How can I show generosity? And how can I put faith in people that humanity has the goodness of God in it? Let me say that again. Who can I make smile today? How can I make someone smile today? How can I create a memory for somebody today? Who can I show generosity to? And who can I just do something simple that shines light into darkness? Watch me, where people say, you know what, maybe there are some good people in the world. And you say, yes, there are. And they are the sons and they are daughters of Yahweh. King Jesus lives in me and sits on my throne. We have to add value to others. Create a memory. Let me say it like this. Blow somebody's mind. Pick up a tab somewhere. Pay for groceries. Tell somebody like, hey, I really like your hair. I don't know, like that could be weird. You understand what I'm saying, right? Like add value to people. Don't walk around being a sourpuss all the time, looking like Eeyore. That's not helping anyone. You're not adding value to anybody. And I'm not throwing stones at you because that was harsh, but I'm not throwing stones at you. What I'm saying is this. What I want you to hear my heart is this. You are empty and you are hopeless and you're scratching and crawling for something else. And I'm telling you, it could be as simple as adding value to others. You're like, how can I add value to others? Because our spirit man is strengthened. How is our spirit man strengthened? Because we're willing to do that next right thing because we're honest and we noticed the indicators. And here's the next point. I've got 2 more. Who is supporting me? Who are you receiving value from? Now you might say, I have no one. And that's probably very true. So I want to tell you a little prayer to pray. You ready? Lord, send people into my life that can add value to me. Send people into my life that can add value to me. And then bring the next part of that prayer. Here's what I want you to see. And Lord, don't let me have walls up that never lets them in. Don't let me have too many walls up that never lets them in. One more time. Lord, bring people to me that can add value, that can support me, that can hold me up. But don't let me have walls up that I won't let them in. All right? So you have to see that. Who am I adding value to? Who is adding value to me? And then finally, I literally wrote this down on the way over here. I would have this to kind of demonstrate. Maybe you need to take communion with Jesus. Maybe you need to take communion with Jesus. The very first sermon of this year, we talked about communion. I'm like standing in my garage because it was just, that morning was, you ever have one of those mornings where it's just like awful and you're like, I just got to do something here, right? It was one of those mornings, but I taught on communion and the significance of that. Because here's the thing, Jesus' body was broken so you could be made whole. And when you sit, grab some bread, grab some juice, grab wine, whatever, like get something, sit and just honor the work that Jesus did. Be honest. Remember we said that, be honest with God. Be willing to hear his voice. But notice, like, hey, what am I putting in the tank of my life? Where am I adding value to others? Who's adding value to me? And at the end of the day, Lord, I want to be in your family. And I don't want this to be the end of my story. I just want this to be a part of it where I move on and I champion this season. Today, it could be something as simple as, hey, I need to shift what's going in my tank, or I need to just, you know what, I can't be just all just spun up on myself or whatever. I need to get someone to speak into my life. Maybe it's heavier, and I encourage you, if it's heavier, you need to reach out to someone. Get some help. Get some legitimate professional help. There's no shame in that whatsoever. I had a season where I had to do that because here's the thing. Your life is worth living, and you were born for such a time as this. I hope today in some way has spoken to you. I do want to say, if you give to Champion, thank you, because you make all of this happen. All of this happen. You may never, ever, ever meet the people that this speaks to, but you are adding value to them. So I just want to say simply, thank you for that. Thank you. And until next time, God bless you. If there's anything we can do to help you, please let us know. We'll talk soon.